This is why God made them turn against each other. Powerful message. Welcome to the chosen bloom. You can only suppress the truth for a season before it erupts with a force no one can contain. And when it does, the sound is not quiet, not hidden, it thunders for the world to witness. Picture this, chosen one, two people locked in battle, their voices breaking like thunderclaps, their words cutting like sharpened blades. Yet here lies the bitter irony, the clash is not truly about them. It is about you. The secret they tried to bury, the truth of how they truly see you, has risen to the surface, and now it tears their world apart. Lies may stand for a moment like a dam, but every dam under pressure eventually cracks. And when it breaks, the flood does not trickle. It drowns everything in its path. Psychology confirms what the spirit already knows. Repressed emotions never vanish. They ferment, they intensify. The longer someone hides their real feelings, the more unstable they become when those feelings finally break free. And in that eruption, all their hidden envy and unspoken resentment are laid bare. That is why their rage spills out in public spectacles, explosions that expose their foolishness for all to see. Meanwhile, your name remains untarnished, shining at the center of their storm. And so, chosen one, remember this: the truth always reveals itself, no matter how long it is buried. Spread this light further. Press like, subscribe, and share this message so that more souls may be awakened. For it is the responsibility of the chosen to carry truth into the darkness. Chosen one, if this message spoke to your spirit, drop TRUTHE in the comments. Thank you for standing in this mission. You are not alone. You are part of a greater force. Now let us return to the heart of what unfolded. This fight was no accident, and it was far from civil. It erupted like raw chaos, unfiltered and uncontrollable, sparked by the very thing they thought they had mastered: the false story they built about you. For so long, they acted as if you did not matter, as if your presence carried no weight. Yet the universe never allows such lies to stand forever. At the appointed time, the mask is torn away. Words were hurled like grenades, each one exploding with the truth they had been too fearful to admit. And if you listened closely, you would see every syllable carried the mark of your presence. Understand this, chosen one. Their anger is not truly aimed at each other, nor is it simply directed at you. It is born from the mirror you have become. Your very existence forces them to confront the lies they told themselves. And that kind of confrontation is unbearable for many. So instead of wrestling with their own deception, they lash out at whatever target stands near. That is why the air felt thick with fire, why every sentence sounded like a hidden confession clawing its way to the surface. Because when someone lies about what you mean to them, it is not just their story that unravels. It is their entire image. Every forced smile, every careless "I don't care," every performance meant to cover their tracks one by one, all are dragged into the light when the truth finally breaks through. And here is the best part: you never had to lift a single finger. The universe itself carried the weight, while you remained untouched, simply watching as the dominoes fell, one after another. Their arguments were only the noise on the surface. Beneath it swirled something far greater, a storm of guilt, attraction, jealousy, and unfinished business they could no longer silence. Though your name may never have been spoken aloud in the chaos, both of them knew with certainty who stood at the center of that storm. It was you, the chosen one. The one presence they could never erase, no matter how desperately they tried. And what they failed to grasp is this: that eruption was only the beginning. For once truth escapes, it cannot be called back. It reshapes everything: the way they look at each other, the way they address you, even the way they see themselves. The genie cannot be forced back into the bottle. The fire cannot be returned to the unlit match. The echoes of their quarrel will haunt them long after the shouting has ended, long after the silence has returned to the room. And in every replay of that moment, your presence will remain unshakable, undeniable, unstoppable. So, Chosen One, are you ready to see behind the curtain? Because what we are about to uncover is not mere gossip. It is the raw, unpolished truth that has been standing in plain sight, waiting for its hour to be revealed. They painted you as the villain, when in truth, you were the only innocent one in the room. But now the mask is slipping from the faces of the real offenders, and people are beginning to see them for what they are. Fury is rising, and by the time you grasp every detail, you will understand exactly why. This is more than a story. It is a mirror reflecting the games they play and the lies they spin when desperation drives them to cover their own tracks. And if you are truly a chosen one, you will feel it deep within your spirit, a mixture of validation, clarity, and a holy fire awakening inside your chest. That is why you must remain with me until the final word, because each step will strike harder than the last. So, settle yourself. Stay alert. Let us uncover how their fabrications unraveled into a war they never thought they would fight. First, the day their lies came home to devour them. For you cannot outrun truth. It does not arrive gently, it breaks down the door. And Chosen One, you already knew this moment would come. You felt it in your bones, the tension in the air, the whispers behind your back, the way their eyes shifted away whenever your name was spoken. They believed they could bend the narrative, that their lies were strong enough to erase you. But lies are like termites. They work in silence, eating at the foundation until one day the entire house collapses. And when it falls, the rot inside is revealed for all to see. That collapse came for them, and it came with force. Now the question remains, why here? Why now? Why did everything erupt at this very moment? Because the universe is patient, but it is never blind. The truth they swallowed down for so long has been clawing at their throats, demanding release. And when one voice finally dared to speak it aloud, it triggered a chain reaction that could not be stopped. The very lies they wove so tightly around you twisted into a noose around their own necks, and that noose was just pulled. Now picture this, two people locked in a showdown. Not over something trivial, but because of you, your name, your story, your innocence. You are the fault line running beneath their entire world. One careless word, one sliver of honesty, and the ground beneath them begins to quake. The air between them hums with static, as if a storm is seconds away. And when the strike comes, it is not mere words, it is rage. It is fear. It is years of hidden truth ripping through the performance they staged so carefully. They were not simply fighting one another. They were fighting the unbearable reality that you are untouchable by their lies. Every raised voice, every trembling hand, every desperate outburst was its own confession. A confession they could not speak to you directly. We lied. And now the truth is out of our control. Chosen One, you became their mirror, a mirror they despise, because in it they see everything they tried to bury. And understand this, the moment of truth does not always arrive as a gentle whisper. At times, it rips violently, like fabric tearing in the stillness of midnight. It is the kind of moment that rips open every hidden stitch, every careless repair they thought would remain unseen. And when that unraveling comes, nothing escapes its reach. That is what unfolded here. The very lies that once pressed against you like closing walls are now collapsing in full view, and the falling bricks are crushing them instead. And here is the part that should bring a quiet smile to your face. Chosen One, you never had to move a muscle. This was never your fight to ignite, and it was never your duty to resolve. The universe orchestrated it all at the appointed time. You remained steady, guarding your dignity, and still they could not outrun the consequences of their deceit. That is the essence of your power. A power that does not shout, does not plead, but simply is. and your very being is enough to make their structures crumble. You may wonder, why do they cling so desperately to their lies? Because truth is a death sentence to their image. Once the truth about how they feel toward you escapes into the open, it rewrites everything: how others perceive them, how they perceive themselves, even how history remembers them. They built an entire identity upon the illusion that you were insignificant. But now that truth has broken free, the false stage they erected is collapsing under the storm. Here lies the brutal reality. When you are the embodiment of truth, chosen one, your existence alone is a threat. You need not confront them. Your presence already does what their lies cannot withstand. You never needed to argue. Simply living in your authenticity was enough to send them spiraling. Because when people panic, they stumble. They lash out. And in their frenzy, they expose themselves without even knowing it. That is exactly what happened the day their lies returned to devour them. Picture their deception as a fortress, stone upon stone, built over years with false stories and careful disguises. They believed it could never be breached. But you, chosen one, were the storm they never saw coming. A storm that gathered strength in silence, feeding on every truth they tried to bury. And when you finally struck, it was not a drizzle. It was a hurricane. Their walls did not merely crack, they disintegrated. There they stood, stripped and exposed, with the world watching. What they miscalculated was your resilience. They assumed their lies would break you. Instead, you endured. And now, they are the ones crushed beneath the weight of their own words, haunted by every false smile, every whispered deceit, every denial they thought would remain hidden. No shouting match, no frantic defense, no desperate performance can rescue them from that truth. So remember this, chosen one: you need not fight with hands or even with words. Sometimes the sharpest weapon is silence. Sometimes the most devastating victory is to let truth speak for itself. And once truth is unleashed, it does not stop. It pursues relentlessly until every mask is torn away. It does not stop. It does not soften. It does not care how desperately they beg. Truth spreads like a fire no hand can smother. This was their reckoning, but it became your release. The chains they wrapped around your name have snapped. The image they painted of you has been torn apart. And the beauty of it is you never had to touch the brush. Number 2, when illusion finally collided with truth. A lie may wear armor, but truth carries the sledgehammer. Chosen one, understand this was never just an argument. It was a violent collision between the false world they wanted others to believe and the reality they could not escape. Resentment, fear, jealousy, all the poisons they stored within, had nowhere left to hide. And when the dam burst, it was not a drip. It was a flood. The atmosphere itself testified. You could feel the charge, as if two storms were about to collide and rip the sky wide open. Why did it happen this way? So suddenly, so violently? Because pretending is exhausting, and they had been pretending for far too long. Pretending they did not notice you. Pretending you carried no weight. Pretending your presence did not shift the very air in the room. That level of denial corrodes the soul until the mask can no longer hold. And when the mask finally slips, everything beneath it, envy, grudges, confessions they swore would never pass their lips, erupts all at once in a single, unstoppable wave. You cannot destroy a hurricane by ignoring it. You either step aside or you are swallowed whole. Now picture this: a train racing down its track for years, its passengers certain they are safe, unaware that another train is charging toward them from the opposite direction. Both move too fast to stop. And when they collide, the wreck is not limited to the engines. It sends shockwaves through every carriage. That is what happened when the illusion they crafted about you finally collided with the truth of who you are. The impact was not silent. It was devastating, and every witness felt the tremor. Some saw it coming. Deep down, they always knew who you were. They recognized your strength before you recognized it yourself. They glimpsed it in the way you carried yourself, in the way you refused to shrink for their comfort. And instead of honoring that, they panicked. Why? Because your very existence threatened the fragile kingdoms they built for themselves. People do not truly fear the unknown. They fear the truth that demands they change. They fought over you, not because you failed, but because you embodied what they could not control. You were the crack in their painted walls, the one mark they knew would spread until the entire facade collapsed. Every smear, every whispered lie, every act of character assassination was nothing more than a frantic attempt to plaster over that crack. But cracks do not vanish. They deepen, and in time the whole wall crumbles. And so you may ask, why turn on each other? Why not confront me directly? Because confronting you would mean staring into the mirror and facing their own deception. And that is far more terrifying than shouting at each other in rage. To fight you directly would require them to admit the truth that you were right, and that truth had been sitting in the room all along. Their pride would rather bleed on a battlefield of their own making than bow before the truth you carry. And truth does not arrive gently. It does not knock. It kicks the door off its hinges and enters without apology. Picture a dimly lit room where whispers thrive in the shadows, where masks conceal the real faces. Then suddenly, the curtains are thrown wide open and sunlight floods in. That is you, chosen one. You are that sunlight. And sunlight does not apologize. It does not dim itself to protect liars from discomfort. It simply shines. And in shining, it exposes all. That is why they trembled, why their voices cracked, why the room quaked with panic. You stripped away the shadows they were hiding in. Do not be deceived. This was never just an argument. This was a war between illusion and truth, between the safety of denial and the piercing discomfort of revelation. And revelation always triumphs. For once truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. No matter their denials, no matter their screams, the image of you standing in unshakable authenticity is now burned into their minds. And here lies the poetic justice. They tried for so long to erase you, yet by causing this eruption, they ensured the opposite. The very battle meant to bury your name has made it unforgettable. They carved you into memory, louder than ever. The harder they press against you, the more visible you become. That is how the universe works. The very force they use to break you has only built your name stronger. For when you are the truth, even your silence becomes a revolution. Picture a chessboard in the middle of play. For years, they moved cautiously, guarding their king, keeping you at a distance. But one mistake, one fracture in the lie, and the game was over. Checkmate. That is what just happened. They cornered themselves because truth never retreats. It never negotiates. And you, without effort, had been playing the long game all along. You may not have been in the room when the battle erupted, chosen one, but you were the cause of it. That is power. That is influence. While they scramble to patch their image and nurse their wounds, you walk free. Free from their story. Free from their grip. Free from the weight of their deception pressing on your shoulders. What they fail to see is this. This was not merely their breaking point. It was your turning point. Their collision with truth did more than destroy illusions, it cleared the path before you. Now whispers are shifting into questions, questions into conversations. And doubt is spreading through the very circles they thought were secure. And the most remarkable part, you do not have to move a finger to keep it alive. Truth has already begun its work. So do not underestimate what just happened, chosen one. This was not noise. This was not just a clash. It was a seismic shift. They may try to patch the cracks, spin a new story, or pretend nothing happened. But beneath the surface, they know the truth. You shook their foundation. You proved what was always certain, no matter how fiercely they fight against it. Truth cannot be defeated. And when illusion collides head-on with truth, only one survives. Number 3, when regret becomes their prison. Chosen one, the heaviest chains are not the ones placed on you by others, but the ones you fasten on yourself. And somewhere in the silence of their own minds, they are suffocating. Regret is not loud. It does not roar. It does not announce itself. It is a quiet predator, pressing down on the chest until every breath feels heavy. For them, each inhale drags up another memory of what they did to you. Every lie, every smear, every moment they convinced themselves you were nothing. These are no longer passing thoughts, they are links in a chain, and that chain is wrapped tight around their soul. And perhaps you wonder, why now? Why does regret strike with such force? Because regret does not arrive in the noise. It waits. It waits for silence. It waits for the moment they're alone, when there is nowhere left to run. Then it whispers. Then it reminds them of the truth they buried. Picture it, a dark, windowless cell. The door is locked, yet the key is in their hand. Still, they do not use it. Why? Because freedom would mean admitting they built the prison themselves. That is the cruelty of regret. It forces a soul to face the truth that its greatest enemy was never you. It was themselves. And the human mind is merciless. Psychology confirms what the spirit already knows. Suppressed emotions do not disappear. They harden. What they ignored about you did not fade, it fermented. It grew bitter, and now it chokes them from within. Every distraction circles back to you. Every attempt to deny only tightens the chains. Denial is a slow poison. And truth, the very truth they feared, is the antidote. But only the brave will drink it. They are not brave enough. And so the poison spreads. The mind they once used as a refuge has become a battlefield. Regret fires the first shot. Guilt answers back, and every thought turns into a weapon. Every memory of you strikes like a blow they cannot escape. This is where you prevail, chosen one, because you do not need to lift a finger. You do not need to speak. You do not need to move. Their own mind is your loudest witness, and it will testify against them daily until the weight finally breaks them. Number 4, when truth hits like a freight train. You can dodge a question, but you cannot outrun the answer forever. And what they feel now is not simple guilt, nor is it sadness. It is deeper an unrest that shakes a person from the inside out. The very truth they fought to bury has become their shadow, following them relentlessly. It creeps into the silence before sleep. It slips into their dreams. It stares back at them from the mirror. Every reflection is now distorted by the one reality they cannot erase you. And you may ask, why is truth striking them so violently now? Because truth is patient, yet truth is relentless. It does not tap politely at the door, it crashes through when its time has come. And here is what they never understood. The more they resisted it, the stronger it became. Picture it now, a freight train thundering down the tracks. They believed that if they ignored the truth, it would simply fade away. But truth does not vanish, it gathers momentum. And when it finally strikes, it does not merely push you off balance. It flattens everything in its path. That is what is happening now. Darkness does not fear the light itself, it fears exposure. When fists flew that day, it was not only tempers breaking, it was masks shattering. The smug confidence, the casual "I don't care," the carefully painted smiles, all of it crumbled in real time. And once a mask breaks, it cannot be repaired. Everyone sees what lies beneath. And here is the beauty of it, chosen one, you never needed to speak. You never needed to move. Truth carried the weight, as it always does. It slid quietly into the room, took its seat at the table, and forced them to face it with no escape. That is the power of what you represent, an unstoppable force they will never contain again. Number 5, when their make-believe world crumbled. A lie requires no enemy. Left alone, it devours itself. And chosen one, that is exactly what happened here. They labored endlessly to bury their true feelings toward you, the spark of admiration they dared not admit, the jealousy that scorched them whenever you entered, the fear that your presence revealed their flaws too clearly. They thought they could lock it all away. They convinced themselves that ignoring you would erase you, that starving you of attention would make you disappear. But truth does not starve. It does not fade. It grows. It rises without permission, without validation, without their consent. And perhaps you wonder what finally broke them. The answer is simple: gravity. Illusions are heavy. Every lie, every carefully woven story, every counterfeit smile was another brick stacked onto the fragile structure they built around you. And like a building with rotten beams, it was only a matter of time before it collapsed beneath its own weight. Because truth is like water, it always finds its way through the cracks. In that heated moment, their facade did not simply crack, it imploded. And it wasn't only you who witnessed it, everyone did. The fear in their eyes, the tremble in their voices, the stumble of their words, it all betrayed them in plain sight. The image they worked tirelessly to uphold dissolved in seconds. And the beauty of it, chosen one, is that you never had to lift a hand. You did not push. You did not fight. They built their own collapse, and all you had to do was stand firm in your truth while the weight of their deception dragged them down. An illusion cannot survive in daylight. And you are the daylight. Now the mask is gone, and the story they told about you lies shattered like glass at their feet. No matter how desperately they try to piece it back together, the world has already seen the real picture. The illusion is over, and their reckoning has begun. Number 6, when the walls closed in. You can run from people, but you cannot outrun the truth. It knows your address. And chosen one, their escape plan was simple: rewrite the story, twist the facts. Their strategy was simple: pretend none of it ever happened. They believed that if they could control the narrative, they could control reality. But here's the problem: truth does not take orders. It does not bend. It does not break. And it never forgets. Whether this unfolded at work, within family, or in the shadows of personal betrayal, the foundation they stood on was always fragile. A house of cards stacked on quicksand. They decorated it with confidence and arrogance, hoping no one would notice the weakness beneath. But the moment the wind of reality blew through, the whole structure collapsed. A lie may run fast, but truth endures the distance. And perhaps you wonder, can't they just lie their way out again? Not this time. They have run out of exits. Their usual disguise is the false innocence, the casual denial. The victim act cannot hold when everyone has already seen behind the curtain. The masks are gone. Their stories contradict. Every road they take leads back to the ruins of their deception. Picture it, a maze where every turn ends at the same dead wall. That is their life now. The light has been switched on, and every shadow they once hid in has disappeared. They are left standing in the open, exposed for exactly who they are. Because truth does not negotiate. It arrives on time, and it arrives armed. And here lies the part they never saw coming. Justice does not need your permission. You did not chase it. You did not beg for it. You did not force it. What was done in darkness was always destined to be dragged into the light, not because you demanded it, but because the universe does not lose evidence and it never misses its appointed hour. Now they are out of moves, out of lies, out of masks. And for the first time, they see what is most terrifying is not facing you, it is facing themselves. Number 7, the day their lies met their match. Your presence is the earthquake that makes false foundations crumble. Chosen one, what unfolded was never just an argument. It was a collision truth striking illusion head-on. For too long, deception had ruled their small world. They grew comfortable in it, shaped their identities by it, even learned to breathe its poison as if it were air. But the instant truth entered the room, the atmosphere shifted. The balance changed. And whether you knew it or not, you were the cause. You are a disruptor of deception. It is not about whether you speak boldly or remain silent. Your presence alone is enough to make liars sweat. In your light, the thin walls of their illusions tremble. Here's the part they will never confess. Their fear is not truly of you. Their fear is of what you represent. Because truth does not argue. Truth does not beg. Truth only needs to appear, and everything false begins to crumble. You may ask, if they fear me so much, why not avoid me altogether? Because avoidance does not erase revelation. Once they stood in your presence, the mask was stripped away. Their excuses failed. Their disguises fell. And what they saw staring back at them in the mirror you carry was merciless. Picture this, a dark theater, actors moving confidently across the stage. Then suddenly, a spotlight snaps on. Every false move, every mistake, every crack in the set is revealed to the entire audience. That is what happens when you step into the picture, chosen one. You are that spotlight. They can no longer rewrite the scene. They cannot hide behind clever lines or carefully arranged props. The performance is finished, and their true selves now stand exposed at center stage. No matter how quickly they scramble to cover it up, the damage is already done. Truth has taken its seat in the front row, and it refuses to leave. Lies can only survive in darkness. But you are daylight. This battle was never about words or surface-level drama. It was about energy. Your energy. The kind that strips deception of its grip. And once that grip slips, the whole structure collapses. You did more than enter their story. Chosen one, you ended the chapter they thought would never close. Number 8. The warnings they chose to ignore. Truth does not sneak up on anyone. It announces itself, but people pretend not to hear. This confrontation was not random. It was not sudden chaos. The signs had been scattered like breadcrumbs, clear for anyone willing to see. But they refused to look, because to notice would mean admitting the truth was circling closer each day. The universe left its hints, and theirs were impossible to miss. Sunflowers appeared, symbols of illumination, reminding them that light was coming. Roses surfaced too, beautiful yet armed with thorns, a sign that the admiration they carried for you was twisted with resentment they could not tame. And then there were lizards, symbols of transformation, quietly declaring that change was inevitable. Those signs crossed their path as a declaration change was coming, whether they were prepared or not. Because you can ignore a warning, but you cannot stop the storm it foretells. Even the digital world turned against them. Private conversations surfaced. Screenshots appeared. Words they swore would remain hidden spilled into the open for all to see. They thought their lies were locked in a vault. But the truth is that vault had been cracked long ago. It was only a matter of time before everything poured out. And you may ask, was this just bad luck? No, this was inevitability. The universe does not allow deception to flourish forever. It offers liars the mercy of confessing on their own. And when they refuse, it arranges the exposure for them. Truth moves like water, it cannot be contained. It seeps through, it breaks through, until nothing can stop it. So when the confrontation came, it was not fate rolling dice at random. It was fate collecting the debt they owed the day they chose deception over honesty. Every sign, every leak, every symbol whispered the same warning. Your time is almost up. Number 9. The point of no return. Once truth is spoken, it cannot be sealed away again. Chosen one, the cycle is broken. This is not a pause. This is not a temporary storm. This is the moment their story turned in a direction that can never be undone. The moment they moved against you, chosen one, they were not merely opposing you as a person, they were standing against something far greater, the unstoppable current of truth. And when anyone fights against truth, they do not simply lose. They dismantle their own foundation. Now the fallout is unfolding in plain sight. Trust that once held them up has evaporated, replaced by suspicion that lingers in every conversation. Influence they once carried effortlessly now slips through their fingers like water, no matter how tightly they try to grasp it. The whispers they brushed off as harmless gossip are now spoken aloud, each retelling sharper, more detailed, more damning than the last. You cannot plant seeds in poisoned soil and expect a harvest of loyalty. And you may ask, can they fix this? The answer is no. Not this time. Because this is not punishment. It is the natural order. You cannot build on deception and expect the structure to stand forever. Once truth is released, it does not retreat. It does not forget. It presses forward, sweeping away everything too weak to endure its light. Picture it, a futile attempt to hold back the ocean's tide with bare hands. That is them now watching wave after wave crash against the walls they trusted, only to see each wave carry more of their structure away, until nothing remains but the wreckage of their own making. Understand this, Chosen One, truth is not an attack. It is simply the unveiling of what was always there. And the beauty of this moment is that you do not need to push. You do not need to force. The shift has already taken place. It cannot be reversed. They may deny, they may spin, they may even play the victim, but none of it will matter. The truth has already branded itself into the minds of everyone who matters. No performance, no clever script, no mask can erase it now. This is the point of no return, and they have crossed it. From this moment forward, every step they take will be on ground that remembers exactly what they did and who they did it to. Number 10, when the dust settles and the masks stay gone. The fight may end, but truth does not fall silent. Chosen One, the loudest part of the storm has passed, yet this is when the deepest revelations emerge. Not in the chaos, not in the shouting, but in the stillness afterward. This is the moment when people's true colors rise to the surface. Not in the frenzy of battle, but in what they choose when the noise is gone. Some will avoid you entirely, as if your presence is a mirror they cannot endure. Understand, they are not truly afraid of you. They are afraid of the truth that clings to you like light. Others will draw nearer, pulled by the strength you radiate now that the illusions have fallen away. And still others will scramble, desperate to stitch together a story that paints them clean even as the threads unravel in their hands. When the masks drop, every reaction becomes its own confession. And perhaps you ask, how do I know who is genuine? The answer is simple. Watch actions, not words. Silence itself can be an apology. Distance can be an admission of guilt. Loyalty can reveal itself without a single speech. For in the aftermath, the stage is gone, the lights are on, and lies have nowhere left to perform. The masks are gone, and all that remains standing is truth. And the truth, Chosen One, is this: you were never the problem, you were the test. And through this storm, every soul revealed who passed and who failed. Number 11, the trial that proved your power. Pressure does not break diamonds, it reveals them. Chosen One, this was never truly about the fight itself. That clash was only the stage. What was really unfolding was a test. Not a test meant to destroy you, but to refine you, to strip away everything and everyone that did not belong on your path. Every reaction you witnessed, every mask that fell, every truth that rose to the surface. These were not accidents. They were confirmations of what you already knew in your spirit. You are not ordinary. You carry weight. Rooms shift when you walk in. And you may wonder, why did it have to unfold this way? Because illusions do not fade quietly. They shatter. And sometimes the only way forward is to let everything false collapse in full view. What looked like chaos was clarity in disguise. Conflict was only the fire that revealed what could not last. For when you step into your power, everything counterfeit will stumble over itself to get out of the way. And now the atmosphere is different, lighter, clearer. The distractions have burned away. Those who came only to take have been removed. And what remains is solid, real, aligned with the path destined for you. You have been sharpened. Your discernment is stronger than ever. The noise has ended, the path is clear, and from this point forward, you walk it free, unburdened by the weight of their deception. Number 12, the force they could not ignore. True power is when your very presence speaks louder than their words. Chosen one, they fought over you because the truth had reached its boiling point. For too long it simmered beneath the surface, hidden under polite smiles, buried beneath hollow compliments, disguised in small talk that was nothing but camouflage. But tension has a shelf life, and theirs had expired. The moment came, and it was like glass shattering in slow motion. Every mask they clung to, every display of false indifference, every performance of confidence fell to the ground and broke in plain sight. And the most remarkable part, you never moved. You never forced it. Because truth does not need defending. It only needs space to reveal itself. Your presence alone was enough. Your energy unsettles pretenders because it does not bend. It does not shrink. It does not cooperate with illusion. It simply stands unshakable, undeniable, and in standing, it exposes everything that cannot match its strength. When you walk into a room, you do not merely take up space, you shift it. And deep down, they always knew it. Now the truth is no longer hidden. It lingers in the air for all to see. No matter how desperately they try, they cannot shove it back into the shadows. The damage to their lie is permanent, and the proof of who you are is undeniable. Number 13, when silence becomes the loudest revenge. Sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is to say nothing at all. Chosen one, you never needed to clap back. You never needed to trade insults, raise your voice, or prove yourself to anyone. That is the beauty of your position. You understood that truth stands on its own legs. It does not need you to hold it upright. So you let them speak. You let them twist. You let them perform for the crowd while you remained still silent, unshaken. And that silence? It was not weakness. It was the echo that continues to follow them long after the shouting ceased. They expected a fight. They rehearsed for it. But what they did not expect was the absence of one. They were unprepared for you to stand there, offering nothing for their chaos to feed on. And in that emptiness, they were left alone with the one opponent they cannot defeat: their own thoughts. Your silence is the mirror they cannot look away from. Imagine an empty stage. They are still up there reciting the same tired lines, performing with exaggerated gestures, pausing for applause. But the seats are vacant. The audience has left.
Every word they speak now echoes back to them, unanswered.
That is your silence at work. It stripped them of the validation they needed to keep their illusion alive. And you may wonder, does silence let them think they've won? Not when the truth is already out. In fact, your silence makes their desperation louder. The harder they try to provoke you, the clearer it becomes that you do not even need to engage. That is the kind of power. They cannot endure power that does not beg for attention, but commands it without effort. Revenge is not always destruction. Sometimes it is indifference. By choosing quiet, you turn their own words, their own lies, their own actions back on them. That is why your silence cut deeper than any insult. It forced them to face the world they created, with no one else left to blame. Number 14, the echo of their actions. Actions fade, but their echo can reverberate through a lifetime. Chosen one, what they did to you may already belong to the past, but the consequences are still pursuing them. And this is the part they never considered. They believed they could act recklessly, twist the story, and then walk away untouched. But betrayal leaves an echo, a sound that follows you into every room, even when no one is speaking. And now, trust is gone. The bridges they once crossed daily have been reduced to ash. There is no rebuilding without first facing the truth. Alliances they leaned on have fractured. People who once stood beside them now step back, not because of anything you said, but because of what they exposed about themselves. You can repaint the walls, but the cracks will always show. Picture a white shirt stained deep in the center. They can scrub it, bleach it, even hide it under a jacket, but the mark remains. And in time, the stain bleeds back through. That is the nature of betrayal. No matter how many smiles they put on, no matter how many words they spin, the mark is permanent. And perhaps you wonder, will people eventually forget? Not truly. They may stop speaking of it aloud, but the memory lingers like a faint scent that never leaves the air. Now, every room they enter carries a shift in atmosphere. Every conversation pauses for a breath. Every glance exchanged is a quiet reminder of exactly what they did. Some shadows are not cast by the sun. They are cast by choices. That is where they live now, inside the shadow of their own actions. They can change cities, shift circles, even reinvent their image, but the echo will follow. Because no matter where they run, the one thing they cannot outrun is themselves. Number 15, the invitation.
Chosen one. Your story may be the very key that unlocks clarity for someone else.
Now, it is your turn. Have you felt this energy before the shift in the air when you entered a room? Have you noticed how eyes reveal more than words? How smiles fade into confessions months later when the mask slips? This isn't just me telling you what is happening. It is us, chosen ones, recognizing the same patterns. Because the more we share them, the more obvious it becomes these moments are not accidents. They are part of a larger design, a bigger picture we have all brushed against in our own way. Truth shared is truth amplified. So tell me, what's your story? Have you watched someone's mask slowly slide until the real face could no longer be hidden? Have you ever sat in a room thick with tension, only to later discover you were the center of it all? Drop your experience in the comments. Your truth may be the exact light another chosen one needs right now. And hear this, chosen one, you see it now with perfect clarity. Every mask, every lie, every fracture in their illusion exposed. This was never just a fight. It was truth claiming its place, and you stood through it without losing an ounce of your power. If this message resonated, press like if you haven't already, and if you're still not part of this family, press subscribe. Together we will keep exposing the games, walking in our strength, and carrying the light the universe has entrusted to us. Stay sharp. Stay unshakable.